They say you lose a confrontation when you're outsmarted. But that's not true. You lose it the moment you panic. The second your voice rises, your words rush, your chest tightens, the battle is over. You've already surrendered your advantage, because panic is not a reaction, it's a confession. It tells everyone in the room that your emotions have taken command. People sense it instantly. They may not understand it, but they feel it. The trembling tone, the restless movements, the loss of rhythm, these are the body's white flags. And no matter how sharp your words are, if your control is gone, so is your power. Think about it. How many times have you walked away from an argument knowing you weren't wrong yet you still lost? You didn't lose the logic. You lost your composure. You lost yourself. And the calm man, the one who stood silent while you burned, he won. Because calm is not peace. Calm is dominance disguised as serenity. It's the ability to turn emotion into observation and noise into opportunity. When everyone else fights for control, the calm man already owns it. That is the first Machiavellian lesson of confrontation. The one who remains still controls the storm. Machiavelli understood that power doesn't show itself in fury. It shows itself in restraint. The prince who rages at insult reveals weakness. The ruler who smiles under pressure reveals strength. The man who cannot be provoked is the man who cannot be controlled. And that's why calm isn't softness, it's supremacy. The calm man controls the tempo, the tone, the silence, the very atmosphere of the room. Others breathe when he allows them to. Others speak when he chooses to pause. He doesn't overpower people, he unbalances them. They mistake his stillness for passivity until they realize they're the ones losing ground with every word. That's when fear sets in. Because the calm man doesn't fight for control, he simply never gives it away. The question then is not how to win confrontation. It's how to remain calm enough that winning becomes inevitable. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly that. How to keep your composure so completely that others crumble under their own emotion. How to weaponize silence, breath, and patience until your calm becomes command. Because in every conflict, whether it's a negotiation, a rivalry, or a test of pride, the one who stays calm is already the one who has won. Law 1. The first victory is over yourself. Before you conquer any opponent, you must conquer the chaos inside your own chest. Most people enter confrontation unprepared for themselves. They think the enemy is out there, across the table, behind the words, in the other person's tone. But the true enemy lives within, in the pounding heart, the racing thoughts, the heat that clouds judgment. The battle is not against another's will, it's against your own reaction. Machiavelli would say, the man who cannot rule his own emotions cannot rule anyone else. Because once your emotions take the throne, reason is overthrown. And when reason falls, strategy dies. To master calm, you must first train the mind to obey before the moment demands it. You cannot build composure in the fire. You must forge it in the quiet. The general doesn't prepare on the battlefield, he prepares in solitude, drilling discipline until instinct itself becomes control. You do the same. You study your reactions, you track your triggers, you learn what provokes you, and then you strip those things of their power. Every insult that once enraged you becomes a test of awareness. Every provocation becomes a mirror, showing you how easily you could still be moved. The key is to understand that emotion is leverage, but only when it's yours to command. Anger, when controlled, becomes focus. Fear, when understood, becomes caution. But when emotion commands you, it consumes you. The man who masters calm doesn't suppress his feelings, he directs them. He channels adrenaline into precision. He turns tension into timing. He uses the very energy that destroys others as fuel for stillness. This is why Machiavelli compared self-control to rule. Both require understanding the nature of what you govern. To rule yourself, you must know your own tendencies. When you speak too quickly, when your pride rises, when your nerves betray you. Then you must do the opposite. Where you used to rush, you wait. Where you used to argue, you observe. Where you used to defend, you question. Because calm is built through inversion, by refusing to feed the chaos that wants to consume you. Understand this, The man who loses his temper is not frightening. He is predictable. You can make him speak before he thinks. You can make him expose what he's hiding. You can make him act against himself. He's a puppet pulled by his own emotions. But the calm man is a mirror. He reflects everything, absorbs nothing. No one can read him. No one can provoke him. No one can make him reveal more than he intends. And that's what terrifies people, the silence they can't penetrate, the stillness they can't shake. Calmness doesn't mean emptiness. It means control. It's not that you feel nothing, it's that nothing owns you. And once you reach that level, confrontation stops being chaos. It becomes choreography. The first victory in any battle of will is not over your enemy, it's over yourself. Because the man who commands himself commands every situation he enters. And once you've achieved that, every confrontation becomes just another stage, and everyone else is still learning how not to panic. Law 2, the mask of silence, how to let others expose themselves. Silence is not absence, it's pressure. And in confrontation, pressure is power. Most people think silence is retreat. They think if you're not talking, you're losing. They rush to fill every gap, to explain, to justify, to prove they're in control. But that rush is their undoing, because when you speak too soon, you show your hand. You give away your fear, your insecurity, your need to be understood. The calm man never does this. He knows that silence speaks louder than any defense. Machiavelli understood this long before psychology gave it names. He saw that men reveal themselves when confronted with emptiness. They cannot stand it. The silence becomes a mirror, and in it, they see themselves unfiltered, unmasked, unprepared. And what they see terrifies them. They start talking faster, louder, spilling truths they meant to hide, confessing weaknesses they never intended to show. The silence doesn't weaken them, it exposes them. Human beings are addicted to sound. We think talking equals control. But in every argument, every negotiation, every test of will, the one who talks most is losing control. The one who listens, waits, and watches, he's collecting ammunition. Every unnecessary word from the other side becomes leverage. Every nervous pause becomes a pattern. The calm man gathers all of it in silence until he knows exactly where to strike. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to speak little and observe much. A prince who reveals too much becomes predictable. A prince who listens becomes omniscient. The same is true in your own confrontations. Let them talk. Let them fill the air with their performance. The more they try to dominate the space with noise, the more they expose their weakness. You do not need to stop them. You just need to stay still long enough for them to destroy themselves. Silence creates discomfort. Discomfort creates confession. People will start explaining themselves without being asked. They will apologize before you accuse. They will interpret your silence as judgment, superiority, or hidden anger. And in that confusion, they hand you control. You don't have to be cruel. You don't have to manipulate. You only need to resist the reflex to respond. The trick is to understand that silence is not passive. It is active restraint. It's choosing not to give your power away through noise. It's patience disguised as mystery. When you're silent, they must imagine what you're thinking, and the imagination always paints something more intimidating than reality. They start negotiating with the version of you inside their own head, not with the man in front of them, and that's how you win without ever raising your voice. But silence must be deliberate. Hesitation looks weak. Stillness looks controlled. When you choose not to speak, make it a decision, not a pause. Let your expression remain unreadable. Let your eyes stay fixed and calm. Let the silence stretch until it feels unbearable for them. The tension will do the work for you. They will break themselves trying to fill the void you created. The mask of silence is one of Machiavelli's greatest psychological weapons. It is both defense and offense. It protects your emotions while dismantling theirs. It keeps you unpredictable while making them transparent. And when you finally decide to speak, your words land like verdicts, measured, unhurried, devastating. Remember this: every unnecessary word costs power. Every silence, when controlled, gains it. In a world where everyone fights to be heard, the one who refuses to compete for noise becomes the one everyone listens to. Master the mask of silence, and you'll discover the first rule of control. You don't need to outtalk your enemies. You just need to outweight them. Law 3. The breath of command, controlling the body when the mind is tested. When confrontation begins, the first thing you lose isn't your argument. It's your breath. Your heart quickens. Your chest tightens. Your words stumble. Your voice betrays you. And before you've even said a word, everyone in the room can feel it. They can sense the tremor beneath your surface, the small collapse inside your composure. You might still look strong, but your body has already surrendered. This is why Machiavelli said that mastery over others begins with mastery over oneself, because power doesn't begin in the mind, it begins in the body, and the breath is the bridge between the two. Panic shortens breath. Fear makes it shallow. Anger makes it rapid. Each of these is an involuntary confession. The body shouts what the mind is trying to hide. That's why every ruler, every commander, every strategist who understood power also understood stillness. The calm you project isn't born from luck, it's born from oxygen. The man who owns his breath owns the room. When your breathing is steady, your voice deepens, your tone slows, your rhythm stabilizes. The chaos around you begins to match your tempo. People start breathing with you without realizing it. That's not mysticism, that's dominance of the nervous system. You regulate yourself, and by doing so, you regulate others. In every confrontation, there's an invisible struggle who will set the pace. The one who breathes faster submits to the other's tempo. The one who slows down takes control. This is what Machiavelli meant when he wrote that fortune favors those who command themselves first. Breath is command made visible. You must train it like a soldier trains reflex. When you feel your pulse rise, slow it. When your mind races, breathe deeper. When someone shouts, let your inhale be your armor. The longer the breath, the longer your patience. The slower the exhale, the slower your enemy's momentum. In silence, practice this. Breathe as if time itself bends around you. Let your lungs dictate the rhythm of the world. Because when confrontation comes, your instincts will betray you unless you've made calm breathing a reflex. This is why orators paused before speaking, why generals stood still under fire, why kings took long silences before giving judgment. Breath gave them distance from the storm, distance gave them clarity, clarity gave them command. The weak man loses control because he's enslaved by his physiology. His own breath turns against him, feeding the illusion of panic. The calm man reverses this. He turns breath into strategy. His steady rhythm radiates power. His composure infects everyone near him. The body follows breath. The voice follows body. The mind follows both. When you breathe like a king, you begin to think like one. Make this a habit. Breathe deeply when insulted. Exhale slowly when provoked. Control your lungs when they try to tighten. Each breath becomes a declaration. I am not ruled by this moment. Because that's what calm, truly, is not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of reaction. The man who breathes with control in chaos becomes untouchable. When others are gasping for air, you are dictating it. And when you dictate the air, you dictate everything. Law 4, the predator's stare, turning observation into pressure. Every confrontation is a contest of presence. Words matter, but not as much as gaze. Because before you speak, the other person has already measured you not by what you say, but by what your eyes reveal. Most men lose control through their eyes. They dart when uncertain. They blink when afraid. They drop when challenged. And in that moment, the opponent sees everything: weakness, doubt, hesitation. The stare, more than speech, decides who dominates. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. He knew that confidence, authority, fear, all of it leaks through the eyes. In the Florentine court, princes lied, spies whispered, generals bluffed, but only one thing could not be faked for long: composure under scrutiny. The predator's stare separates rulers from prey. The predator's stare is not aggression. It is not anger. It is stillness, focus sharpened into silence. It says, I see you. I measure you. I will move when I choose, not when you demand. Most people cannot bear being truly looked at. They crave distraction. They fill the space with gestures, noise, movement. The unbroken gaze strips them of that comfort. It forces them to confront themselves. The longer you hold it, the more the tension grows not in you, but in them. Because when you look without blinking, without flinching, without judgment, they begin to imagine your thoughts. Their mind starts to betray them. They project their fears, their guilt, their insecurities into the silence of your stare. The confrontation stops being about you. It becomes about their own reflection. That is why the predator's stare is a weapon it hunts without moving. It dismantles without sound. But it must be pure. If your gaze trembles with anger, you lose it. If it burns with arrogance, you lose it. True command comes from absence, the absence of emotion, the absence of need. Your eyes must communicate inevitability, not intent. You are not challenging them. You are simply acknowledging their noise as irrelevant. In this way, the predator's stare becomes psychological warfare. You don't react when they raise their voice. You don't blink when they insult you. You don't look away when they step closer. Your calm becomes unbearable. They begin to lose rhythm. Their tone rises. Their words spill faster. Their gestures grow larger. Every second they try to provoke you, they expose their desperation. And you, unmoved, grow larger in their eyes. History remembers those who ruled with silence in their gaze, commanders who froze armies with a glance, leaders who silenced rooms without words, interrogators who made men confess before the first question was asked. They all understood the same law. Control is not announced. It is felt. To master the predator's stare, practice detachment. When you look at someone, do not look for reaction, look through them. See them as a pattern, not a person, a sequence of behaviors waiting to be read. Detach from emotion, and your gaze becomes steady. Detach from ego, and your stare becomes infinite. When you can do this, confrontation changes. You no longer respond to threats, you observe them. You no longer chase control, you embody it. And the one who cannot meet your eyes will always know, deep down, that he has already lost. Law 5, the slow reply, weaponizing patience and timing. In every confrontation, there's a rhythm, a tempo that decides who leads and who follows. Most men lose not because they lack intelligence, but because they lose the rhythm. They speak too soon, too fast, too much. Their need to respond becomes their downfall. Machiavelli knew this well. He watched rulers and courtiers ruin themselves by rushing to defend their honor. A single insult could unravel years of reputation because pride demanded instant reaction. The slow reply is the antidote to that trap. It's the art of delay, of letting silence grow heavy until every word you finally speak lands like a hammer. Understand this. People equate speed with insecurity. When you rush to explain, to justify, to fill the silence, you expose your anxiety. The man who speaks slowly, who lets seconds pass before he answers, radiates control. Every pause becomes a display of dominance. Every delay forces the other to wait on your timing, not theirs. This is not hesitation. Hesitation smells of fear. The slow reply is something else entirely. It is patience sharpened into precision. You are not searching for words, you are choosing them deliberately, crafting impact with restraint. Your silence before speaking tells them, I am not rushed by your emotion. I will speak when it benefits me, not you. The slow reply unbalances people because it forces them to confront their own impulsiveness. They will interpret your pause in 100 ways. Maybe you're angry, maybe you're plotting, maybe you're amused. Their imagination runs wild, and the more they guess, the more they reveal. You remain unreadable, unprovoked, in command. Try this in practice. When accused, wait. Let their words hang in the air until they begin to rot. When insulted, let the silence linger until they start repeating themselves just to fill the emptiness. When challenged, look at them calmly. Breathe once, twice, then answer in a voice so measured it feels inevitable. That single sentence, delivered with perfect timing, will erase everything they said before it. Because timing is power. A short, slow phrase like, I see, or is that so, carries more weight than a page of explanations. It makes them replay their own words, second-guess their confidence, feel the imbalance they created with their own noise. You haven't argued, you've made them argue with themselves. The slow reply also reveals hierarchy. The subordinate rushes. The superior takes his time. The calm man always dictates the tempo. In every exchange, you are teaching the other person that your time, your words, your pace, these are privileges they wait for. The longer you take, the more value your eventual response holds. But there's danger in overplaying it. Too much delay becomes detachment. Too much silence feels like evasion. The art lies in balance long enough to create tension, short enough to command respect. The perfect reply lands just as their impatience peaks. That's when the mind is open, when the ego is vulnerable, when your words pierce deepest. Think back to every time you spoke in haste. You tried to prove yourself, to fix perception, to control the moment, and ended up giving control away. The slow reply reverses this. You make them wait. You let their noise fade. And when you finally speak, your voice feels like the return of order. Machiavelli would call this the rule of tempo. Never move at the rhythm of your enemy. Make them move at yours. Because in confrontation, time is a weapon. The one who controls time controls perception, and the one who controls perception controls everything. Law 6, the psychological mirror, turning their emotions against them. Every confrontation is an exchange of energy. Most people either absorb that energy or fight it head-on. They let anger infect them, or they throw their own fury back until the moment turns chaotic. But the Machiavellian mind does neither. It reflects. It holds up a mirror so perfect that the other man ends up fighting himself. The psychological mirror is the quietest, most elegant weapon in conflict. You use it not by attacking, but by becoming their reflection calm, controlled, and impossibly still. When they raise their voice, you do not. When they accuse, you do not defend. When they flail, you remain centered. And soon, they begin to hear the ugliness of their own voice echoing back at them. Human beings cannot stand seeing themselves clearly. Our pride depends on distortion. But in confrontation, when someone faces a mirror of calmness, all the distortions vanish. Their rage starts to look childish. Their arrogance looks desperate. Their performance begins to collapse under its own weight. This is why Machiavelli taught that the wise man never resists emotion with emotion. Resistance feeds the fire. Reflection extinguishes it. By mirroring without reacting, you show them what they are not through judgment, but through exposure. A man screaming in front of silence feels ridiculous. A manipulator throwing charm at a blank expression feels hollow. An aggressor threatening someone who doesn't flinch begins to feel small. You do not need to humiliate them. They humiliate themselves. To use this law, you must first learn to contain your own emotional echo. If you absorb their anger, you burn with it. If you fight it, you validate it. If you reflect it calmly, you let it die in front of you. That is the mirror's cruelty. It kills noise through self-recognition. When someone provokes you, their entire strategy depends on pulling you into their world, their tempo, their emotion, their reaction. If you refuse to enter, they are left shouting into emptiness. And in that emptiness, they begin to crumble. They start repeating themselves. They start over-explaining. They start apologizing. They fall apart because their performance no longer has an audience. The psychological mirror is not passive. It is an act of control. You are directing the confrontation without speaking. You are saying, your energy stays with you. I am not your outlet. The effect is devastating. They walk away drained, uncertain, embarrassed, while you remain untouched. But be careful, the mirror only works when it is flawless. If your reflection cracks, if you smirk, if your tone shifts, if you show pleasure in their discomfort, you've turned reflection into reaction. The mirror must be absolute neutrality, no emotion, no validation, no contempt, only calm presence. Think back to your last argument with someone who stayed completely composed. Their stillness made your emotions feel exaggerated. Your anger began to sound absurd, even to yourself. That's the mirror. It forces a man to see himself as he truly is: loud, desperate, weak. And nothing is more destructive to the ego than that realization. Machiavelli would say this is the essence of psychological warfare. Make others defeat themselves. Do not fight their emotion, expose it. Do not resist their performance. Reflect it. Let them exhaust their energy against your silence until they collapse from their own noise. When you master this, you stop needing to win arguments. You let others lose them. And as they unravel in the reflection of your calm, you remain where all true power lives, untouched, unreadable, unshaken. The final law, the eternal calm, the unprovocable state of power. There is a level of control beyond composure, beyond silence, beyond strategy. It is not learned through technique. It is earned through transformation. This is the state Machiavelli hinted at, but few ever reach. The eternal calm. The eternal calm is not pretending to be unmoved. It is truly being unmoved. It is the point where emotion no longer fights for control because it no longer needs to. You don't suppress anger, it simply doesn't rise. You don't restrain fear, it never enters. You don't act calm, you are calm. Most people live as slaves to reaction. Every word, every insult, every challenge pulls at invisible strings. They spend their lives defending their name, their image, their pride. But the man who reaches the eternal calm has cut those strings. He no longer reacts because there's nothing left to defend. He has nothing to prove, nothing to protect, nothing to fear losing. And that makes him invincible. This is what Machiavelli meant when he wrote that fortune favors the one who masters himself. Because when nothing external can disturb your internal world, you become the center of every room you walk into. Your stillness radiates. Your calm becomes gravity. Others begin to orbit you, drawn by something they can't explain. They feel safer near you, yet terrified of your judgment. They sense that no manipulation, no flattery, no provocation can move you. And that realization changes the balance of power forever. To reach this level, you must pass through every discipline you've already learned. Silence, breath, stare, slowness, neutrality, reflection, and withdrawal. Each one removes a layer of weakness until what remains is immovable. The man of eternal calm is not reactive because he understands the nature of all reaction. It serves the other. To react is to surrender rhythm, to admit influence, to expose dependence. He does not give that away. When insulted, he feels no sting. When threatened, no fear. When praised, no intoxication. Because his sense of self is no longer tied to noise. He no longer measures himself by victory or defeat, by appearance or perception. He has stepped outside the game entirely. And here lies the paradox of true power. When you stop fighting for control, you gain it. When you stop needing to win, you cannot lose. When you stop seeking dominance, it begins to emanate from you naturally. This is not serenity. It is superiority of spirit. It is the quiet authority of someone who has seen every trick, every emotion, every manipulation, and smiles untouched. The world tries to provoke him with chaos, but chaos cannot reach him, because chaos needs a reaction, and he gives it none. The noise crashes against his silence and dissolves into nothing. This is the final form of Machiavellian calm. It's not the ability to endure storms. It's becoming the storm's still center. It's the end of struggle, the death of panic, the birth of absolute control. Understand this. Calmness is not weakness. It is not detachment. It is not retreat. It is the highest expression of strength. It is the state from which all strategy, all command, all influence flows. When you reach eternal calm, you do not chase power anymore. You are power. You do not seek to dominate others. They yield before you willingly. Because in a world ruled by reaction, the one who cannot be provoked is the only one truly free. So when the next confrontation comes, do not rise to meet it. Let it crash against you and fade. Breathe slowly, watch closely, and remember, the calmest man in the room is always the most dangerous.